Hi, I'm Cindy,
I'm Kim.
and today we're going to look at a score profile pre and post stimulant medication.
This is a biggie. Wait till
Okay.
you see it.
Now, so the first score profile is done by another clinician, and the second score profile is done by me. And the student went on stimulant medication literally shortly before doing this eval with me. Okay. And so, for parents who question whether or not stimulant medication makes a difference, I think you're going to see some really significant differences here. Okay. So, the way that we've done this is I've noted this one up here says on medication, and then this one over here is not on medication. Okay. And as you scroll down, it'll say on medication on there to remind you of that. But let's give people a minute to kind of glance at scores and do, kind of a quickie screenshot here.
So the one on right is on medication, the one on left is not.
Right. That is correct. And I have to be careful to say correct versus right because then it would be confusing people with left right orientation. And you'll notice I have a few more scores than the other person did, which we've kind of gotten used to with my test data, but you get the idea. Okay, so Kim, using your sniffer, what do you notice?
Well, look at the difference in the IQ scores from when the first testing, 100, 105, which is okay, it's average.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at with stimulant medication, now he's up to,
She,
and look, sorry, up to 119 and a verbal comprehension of 125. Now this person is more of a college bound person in the sense that school will be easier for them. This person has an incredible ability academically to succeed.
yeah. And I don't want to slam the other clinician because that's not what I'm here to do. But the other clinician does what many people do, which is let's just roll forward and we'll diagnose ADHD out of the test data. And does it really make a difference? And the answer is yes, it does. Um, because it doesn't show individual strengths. Now, everybody's going to ask, why does being on stimulant medication make such a big difference when I'm saying, in what way are dut and dut alike on the similarity subtest? So on that subtest, I give you two words and you have to tell me the relationship between the two words. So I might say, in what way are a cricket and a roach alike?
They're
And you would
both
say
insects.
they're both insects, right? Um, so and then it gets into much higher level, more abstract concepts. So, Kim, why would being on stimulant medication make a difference in performance on that test?
Because that student without stimulant medication starts to get bored when things start to get more complex and they start not just bored, but fatigued. So if they have their stimulant medication, they can pause for a second, use their brain power to think, and go in and find an intelligent response to these more complex questions.
And their mind isn't jumping from idea to idea to idea. They're actually thinking through and thinking coherently about where I'm going. And they're not just blurting the next thing that comes out. Because if you blurt something out and the thing that you blurt out is a 0 point response, you're done with that item
And remember, impulsivity is an attribute.
of attention deficit, right? Okay. Vocabulary went up. Again, same kind of concept. Now, you'll notice I did a substitution, and you shouldn't do substitutions on a regular basis because that's not how the test was normed. So, comprehension here is not the normal subtest information is. The information subtest is where I ask you factual information like, name a country in the Pacific Ocean or
Oh,
like just factual information. Okay.
why
And
did you do that?
why would I do that given what you see right here?
Oh, can he pull or she
Can she
pull?
pull? Yeah. So, and I definitely saw evidence of the word retrieval issues
Yep.
for her. And so she couldn't pull the specific information. But on the comprehension test, which is,
Yeah.
common questions about what do you do in life, what should you do if you see smoke coming from a vehicle on the side of a road?
Mhm.
Call 911, right?
Right.
Um, and so it gave her the opportunity to explain how she thought and how she reasoned through the world, and gives you a better sense of what she's actually capable of. Okay. Block design didn't change at all. Matrix reasoning went up a little bit. The WISC didn't have visual puzzles, so that's nothing interesting. Notice the big jump in digit span.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wild because, and just to remember, digit span, Cindy says a long number, they have to say it backwards and forwards and all sorts of things,
Well, I
right?
say series numbers. I would say like 7, 2, 1, 8, and you would say 7, 2, 1, 8, and then I would give you new numbers and you would reverse them, and then I give you numbers and you sort and sequence from smallest to largest. Okay.
And you can't, some people just have that ability to spit back numbers. When she did it to me, I had to create a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So because I was on my stimulant meds, I had a strategy where I could group these things
Through and
together.
clump, chunk
Mhm.
it. Yeah, all sorts of different strategies. Okay. So digit span went up dramatically.
Yeah.
Picture span and arithmetic aren't really parallel, so we're not going to do a comparison there. Notice coding stays about the same. They're in a different order. And again, the tests on the WISC that are not part of full scale IQ are in parentheses, but they're used to calculate the index score of visual spatial processing or processing speed, right? So symbol search went down a little bit, and we'll talk about why in a minute. Okay. Um, Notice that rapid automatic naming. Now, the Woodcock Johnson's rapid picture naming has 120 pictures, and you name the pictures as quickly as you can, but it's not a basic array where it's repeating things. It's a novel picture each time. But notice that with 100 IQ, that doesn't show up as an issue. With a 117, you see the word retrieval issues.
So are you getting that, parents? That discrepancy is not showing up with the lower IQ.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big
Um,
deal.
this clinician didn't do anything in phonological processing. There's clearly an issue with phonological processing. And then
Oh,
you wanted to know what happened in processing speed.
yeah.
I think she actually slowed down because she was paying attention and trying to make sure she got it right.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
That's one possibility. But notice the number pattern matching, which is the visual matching, is about the same.
Huh. Interesting.
So the decision speed, which is not parallel on the Woodcock Johnson 5. So the decision speed, you find two pictures in an array that are related, um, and that test is gone. They don't use it anymore because we're now on the Woodcock Johnson 5, but they just did away with it. And so it's a completely different measure.
Is it a false? The first thing I said to Cindy when I saw this was I was a little confused because usually when a kid has ADHD, their processing speed can be lower,
Not
or is that
necessarily.
not necessarily?
Right.
Okay.
So nothing particularly exciting there. This individual didn't do visual motor integration. There's definitely a problem with visual motor integration.
Dysgraphia,
Yeah.
right?
There's definitely something going on with orthographic processing.
Mhm.
There's definitely something going on with oral language, completely missed because most people don't check that. And
Wait, so that wasn't even done in this first report?
no,
But that's crazy. Why don't people, if there's a suspicion of,
because most clinicians block 4 to 5 hours of testing, and you do a standard battery and you get what you get during that time. And there's only so much you can fit into that time. I do 11 hours of testing so that I can dig deep and pull other things out. Most clinicians don't have the luxury of that time.
Do most clinicians not test for dyslexia and dysgraphia?
Um, they come in and say, is there underachievement in reading or not? Oh, and by the way, this Nelson Denny is not comprehension twice. This one up here is a vocab. My apologies. Or reading rate. My apologies on that. I thought I fixed it. I didn't. Um, Most clinicians are looking for underachievement in reading, which she popped with 2 scores, and the previous clinician did identify a learning disability in reading off of those 2 scores, um, but didn't identify dysgraphia in this kid.
Wait, so on the first test, did they even do a rapid automatic naming?
Yeah, they did. Back
Okay,
here
so they
on the Woodcock Johnson 3.
okay, so it showed 27, but it didn't pop because her IQ was at
Right.
100.
So there was no processing deficit. And then they
What a
didn't do
mess.
anything around phonological processing. And most clinicians don't necessarily look at orthographic processing.
Wow.
Because again, Kim, you have to remember many clinicians still think dyslexia is about flipping letters and numbers.
Wow.
Okay. So, which is part of the reason we do these videos, right?
Right.
Um, and if it's not built in on the battery and it's not kind of fast and easy to kind of like boop, 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 right through it. Now, at least this clinician did something around rapid automatic naming.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not, and they did a memory battery, which we didn't throw in because it wasn't really relevant. But they did some rating scales. They did some other things that I don't traditionally do because I'm not a clinical psychologist. But now notice that the GORT is very different.
Yeah.
Part of the reason the GORT is different is I record all the oral reading and I go back and re-listen to every passage read twice. And
So
I
you can really
catch
dig deep.
errors that other people don't.
Look at the huge difference in your discrepancy
With
and the scoring.
117 versus, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
This is a
Um,
year. Was this a 2 year apart report?
this was about 3 years apart.
3 years apart.
Okay. And then when we move into written language, this is the difference between the Wyatt and the KTEA and the owls. This is why but I
Wow.
do multiple written language measures because they look at writing differently. So the Wyatt sentence combining can score really high or score really low. And it takes a really careful read to score it correctly. And the essay tends to score really high. Um, and so the owls dings you for spelling and mechanics, which is part of written expression. Because written expression, remember, has 6 component parts: handwriting, spelling, mechanics, grammar, cohesion, coherence. Okay. And on the Kaufman, on the written expression, spelling doesn't count. So if you make a spelling mistake, it doesn't count against you. On the owls, it does. And by the way, spelling ran versus run makes a difference in meaning. And spelling does matter because it affects the way that people read things, right?
But like she just didn't catch anything.
She caught a reading disability, theoretically,
Right.
right?
She didn't catch
And,
the writing.
hmm
She didn't catch the writing stuff, right?
no, no, she didn't. And then math looks okay, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's a really different profile. And parents come in and ask questions about why is this so important? And the answer is having test data that shows accurate intelligence changes the way that you look at the data and changes the way that you think about what a kid is capable of. And you know you have inherent bias whether you like it to admit it or not. When you look at somebody with a 117 IQ or a 119 IQ versus 100 IQ, you think of them very differently. Being in the 50th percentile, that's average, that's normal in society. You're going to get through college. Looking at somebody and saying you're a 119, you begin to think about that individual, thinking about graduate school, being able to identify their strengths better and giving them um, self confidence that the difference between the concepts that they catch quickly in class and their grades, an explanation. I mean, that's the thing that used to drive me nuts is I would make great leaps. And I actually had teachers come to me and say, why do you tank tests, but you ask such great questions in class? I don't understand the disconnect. And at the time, I couldn't say, well, that's called dyslexia and dysgraphia because I didn't know.
And how did that make you feel as a kid?
Stupid.
And
Dumb as
that's
a
what I
brick.
want parents to know.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't want to like rant and rave over 100 IQ being bad because 100
No.
IQ is not bad. Like
And
it's
people can go to
average.
college with this.
Yes, you can go to college. She's got strengths at 100 too. I mean, you're in the 75th percentile on block
Yeah.
control, right? She has strengths profiles. Look at the processing speed being in the top 5% in the
Yeah.
United States, right? So, but the fact that she consistently outscored her IQ on multiple measures, like
Wow.
a 108 on sentence composition, a 113 on essay composition, a 110 on math fluency, um, didn't cause the examiners step back and say, something's wacky here, and we need to think about this differently. Let's do a pattern of strengths and weaknesses. Even if they had used a 110 or a 108 as an IQ, not that they calculated discrepancies, but if they had used a higher IQ or a strength score, you would have seen a better contrast to understand what this individual needed. So I diagnosed her with both dyslexia and dysgraphia, and her being on stimulant medication allowed her to go off to college and actually be highly successful at college and graduate.
Did she have any remediation at all between the two series of tests?
No, because most clinicians don't know who to send people off to and what the intervention needs to look like. I mean, that's the reason you openly tell parents all the time, I only take Cindy's reports because I tell you what a kid needs and why.
And
And
then I explained it to the kid. I said, here's your genius, here's your deficits. I need to work with you on strategies and remediation to get around that.
yeah, and that's again, it's not to ditz the other clinicians. Other clinicians are much better versed in anxiety and depression and 985 things that I can't even touch, right? So my specialization in learning differences allows me to look at learning in a completely different way and pick up things that other clinicians can't pick up, which is why we do this. This is why we put the YouTube channel up, is because we want parents and other clinicians to have a resource to go and say, what do I do when data doesn't make sense? So that they can begin to get a sense of, how do I pull this apart? How do I make sense of it? And how do I figure out what this kid needs? So based on number set number 2, Kim, what would we do? Hopefully I'm going to pull up the right one here. I'm going to pull both of them back up. What would we do intervention wise for the dyslexia piece?
I would clean up her dyslexia piece. Like I would identify what sounds and visual sounds that she doesn't know. I would make sure she knows how to decode language that she has either memorized or guessed before.
Yeah.
So I would give her some of that remediation.
Yeah. We do
I
it
would
to
go into
structured literacy.
Latin and Greek and make sure that when she jumps to college that she can basically decode any word that she sees
Yeah.
and not make it up or guess.
And she needs direct instruction in note taking and
Yes.
direct instruction in listening comprehension. How do I listen for keywords? What's important? How do
Oh,
I summarize what's happening? How do I use context clues to figure out the meaning of words that are unfamiliar, which is what we get in the OPUS, the oral passage understanding scale.
but I would also make sure that when she goes to college, that she makes sure that she gets AI or
Note taking.
note taking. She gets those notes because her comprehension is not perfect. That she can go home and reread all of those notes that are accurate representation of what the teacher said,
Or re-listen to what the teacher said.
or re-listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Then we obviously, with the decoding, which is reading, comes the encoding, which is spelling. And so the decoding instruction is naturally going to help the spelling instruction,
Yeah.
which will improve written production.
Mhm.
Okay. She needs to be using a computer to write. She needs extended time. She needs books in audible format. Um, we need to give her the opportunity to be able to respond orally to essay questions where she can elaborate on her ideas, where she maybe not be able to get it down in writing.
Mhm.
Um, just some basics like that. I would also have her have in college priority registration so that she can get into class when her medication is fully therapeutic and she can get with professors that match her learning profile, how she learns best.
And yes, accommodations do work in college.
Yes, they do. And you can get a ton of them. And for all the parents out there that have been told that you can't get accommodations in college, I get kids tons of accommodations in college. I also exempted her from a spoken foreign language because of the phonological processing piece, which is huge. But she left feeling like she actually knew what was going on and what help she needed and why, versus just kind of walking out going, well, that wasn't, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I know something is happening here. I just don't get it.
Who said know thyself? Is
I
that
don't,
Aristotle? Is that Aristotle or Socrates? I don't know.
probably. I still have a t-shirt I have to make for you that says
Yeah.
I'm all Aristotle. But
But
with that, if this is helpful, like us. We'd love to hear your comments and we'll see you soon.
bye.